Village President Frank DeSimone. Welcome to Spotlight on Bensenville. Today we have a special guest. It's going to be Senator Don Harmon. Senator, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
This past summer there was an extended legislative session, but agreement was finally reached on the budget. Would you go over how it all came to pass and offer highlights of the agreement?
Sure. It was a hard-fought battle. As you know, we've been in this awful place for the last 2 years where we haven't had a full budget in place. It's been born of a lot of political infighting that has really exacted a toll on our state, particularly the human services and the higher education institutions. But early in the calendar year, the Senate, Democrats and Republicans alike, came together and started working on a compromise, what we called a grand bargain, where we tried to put together different pieces, some of which were important to Republicans, some of which were important to Democrats, and see if we couldn't fashion a compromise that included a balanced budget and the revenue to pay for them. A lot of fits and starts. We weren't able to get the entire package put together, but in the end, we did pass a balanced budget that was fully funded. We did it over the veto of the governor, but we had enough Democrats and Republicans willing to vote for that override. So now, for the first time in 3 years, we have a full budget in place, and we're funding our priorities, including higher education and human services.
A school funding compromise was also reached. Was it important to know? What is important to know and understand about the measure? What does it mean for Bensenville and the other schools in your legislative district?
Sure. So, for folks who don't know, and very few people in the state do know, we distribute money from the state to local school districts according to a formula. And the formula that had been in place for many years was awfully complicated, convoluted, and really resulted in inequities. We weren't focused on what the evidence told us about how much money was required to provide an adequate education in each school district. So we've come up with a much simpler formula, one that will distribute the money where it's most needed. But we also recognize the importance of reliability. So no school district in the state of Illinois will lose any money. The Bensenville School District, the grade school district, will get about an extra $65,000. Not a huge amount, but better than zero, and certainly better than losing money. Okay. And as we continue to move forward, we're going to have to put more money into the formula each year to get to that level of adequacy. So every school district is protected. No school district will ever lose money, but we'll distribute the new money in a way that's more fair.
Okay, so if the budget and school funding agreements took such a long time to resolve, what should we anticipate for next year? It will be all the same players in Springfield. Will you be talking about the governor's turnaround agenda again? What aspects of the agenda are worth looking at?
Well, it's a good question, and I don't know if we've quite figured out exactly what it's going to look like. We're getting some conflicting messages from the governor's office. On the one hand, on the political side, they're still pretty dug in on saying how horrible things are in Illinois. But on the government side, they're touting a lot of the things that are terrific about Illinois. Alarmingly, as the state was preparing to issue some bonds, they have to disclose to bondholders what they think the future looks like. And they were pretty clear, we can't guarantee we'll have another budget next year. Mm-hmm. So the governor's turnaround agenda, there are certainly things that we in the Senate took up and passed, some local government consolidation issues, some property tax relief. But the dynamic has changed now that we have a budget in place with adequate revenue. The threat that the governor used is less meaningful than it was before we resolved that problem. So I'm hopeful, but I have to be.
Talk about some other policy areas where progress has been made. We hear about the bad financial picture of the state and the Rauner versus Madigan argument all the time. But what other goals have been accomplished?
You know, we've had some small victories, and we'll have some more. I think one of the most meaningful bills that we passed in the last General Assembly was the Future Energy Jobs Act, where we have made a dramatic investment in renewable energy, wind and solar, some battery capacity work. We're going to create tens of thousands of jobs in Illinois by investing in the future of the energy market. We were able to save jobs at some of the existing nuclear plants. Not without controversy. There are certainly people who are skeptical about nuclear energy as a source, but we have it here in Illinois. It's a big part of our portfolio, and a lot of people, a lot of communities depend on those plants. So I think we're able to maintain the status quo while we pivot and invest in creating new jobs all across the state.
Thank you for being with us. You got a few more minutes you can hang out with us?
Absolutely.
We'll be right back with more Spotlight on Bensenville.
The Water's Edge Aquatic Center is conveniently located in the Redmond Recreational Complex in Bensenville. The Water's Edge is home of Fenton High School and Wahoo swim teams, featuring an indoor 8-lane lap pool and diving well. The Aquatic Center is available for private functions and parties. Learn to swim, stay in shape, or enjoy recreational swimming year-round at the Water's Edge Aquatic Center.
The Bensenville Community Library, serving a community of readers. Whether you're old or young, a lover of words, music, or computers, the library has something for you. Check out our new Kindles, toddler jams, story and movie nights, or a variety of other activities offered. For more information, call us at 630-766-4642 or check out our schedule on the web at benlib.org. The Bensenville Community Library, celebrating 50 years of library service.
Welcome back. I'm Village President Frank D. Simone, and I'm here with Senator Don Harmon. Don, welcome back from break. Thank you for coming back from break.
Still glad to be here.
Turning from policy and governing to the elections, what are your predictions for next year? As a member of the Democratic leadership, do you have a preferred candidate for the Democrats?
Well, you know, I have often joked that I'd like to take several of our Democratic candidates and put them into a blender and turn them into a super candidate, because we have several strong candidates, all of whom, each of whom bring different talents and resources to the election. I am very supportive of Daniel Biss. He's my colleague in the state Senate, one of the smartest people I've met in government, and one of the only candidates with real experience inside of government. Most folks who are watching us on television have probably seen a commercial for J.B. Pritzker by this point. I've known J.B. for 25 years. A very good Democrat, a very able person. He's had some meaningful work in the public sector, even though he's never held elective office. Chris Kennedy also has been very active in our communities and has been a strong participant in the civic debate in Illinois and in Chicago. I'd be happy to stand behind any one of those going into an election next November.
Long term, current debate, negative ads, and campaigns aside, what fundamental changes do we need to make to protect and strengthen our state for the long term?
We really do have to examine the role of money in politics. It has become a unregulated floodgate of money, and much of that goes back to the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United, which allows unlimited amounts of money to be spent on elections when they're not being donated or contributed to a candidate directly. I think that really distorts our democracy. That said, it's not unlikely that we will have a gubernatorial election between two billionaires, both of whom are going to spend an awful lot of money for the privilege of serving in a job that pays $100-some thousand a year. I do worry about that. I worry about the dark money, the money that's never disclosed. I would certainly like to make sure if we can't take money out of politics, that we make sure it is disclosed in real time so voters know who's spending the money for what purposes. And when I look at Washington, I see in Congress in particular the consequences of gerrymandering congressional districts. We have across the country created these districts where only a very conservative Republican or a liberal Democrat can win, and we've lost that middle ground.
I'm going to ask you a question that I get asked all the time.
Yep.
What do you like most about your job?
I think what I like most is when someone comes into my office facing a very difficult problem navigating some part of state government, and they just need someone to cut through that red tape and connect them with the person or the resources that they need. It's very rewarding when I can do that for a constituent.
All right. Now we heard the good. Now
Yep.
what's the bad? What's the least favorite part of your job?
Well, the least favorite part is when one of those people comes in too late for me to be helpful. It's awfully difficult when we could have solved their problem if they'd been in a week or a month earlier, but at that point it's very frustrating.
What is an aspect of the job that you did not expect when you first pursued the elected office?
The longer I do the job, the more faith I have in the system. And I'm not sure that I would have expected that. The legislative process in particular works. Good ideas survive and move along into the next phase, and bad ideas are left on the cutting room floor. I've been in office now, this is my 15th year, and the fact that I have more faith that this system works than I did when I started, I think, is a surprise but a relief.
How can residents find out a little bit more about you or even contact your office?
Well, you can certainly visit my website, donharmon.org. You can come to the office on North Avenue in Oak Park. My district runs from the west side of the city through out here to DuPage County, Bensenville, Addison, and Wooddale. North Avenue and then and River Road are really the two main drags through the district. So my office is on North Avenue, 6941 North Avenue in Oak Park. 708-848-2002.
Senator, thank you for being here today with us.
Delighted.
Thank you for enlightening our residents. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we'll see you next time on Spotlight on Bensenville.